Okay, so here is the review on how to find area of irregular figures. So the first question is going to be split up into two shapes that we can understand area of. So we've got shape 1 is going to be this rectangle, and the second shape is two half circles, which together would make a full circle. So what I need to do is figure out the area of the first shape and add it to the area of the second shape, and when I do that, I will end up with the total area. So for the first area, it's a rectangle, so it's going to be length times width. Now the length is clearly 18 centimeters, so we're going to take 18, we're going to multiply that with the width is not quite as straightforward. So we have this little 6 centimeter that represents the radius of the circle, and the diameter of the circle would then be 12 centimeters, so 12 is actually going to be the length of that side of the rectangle. So 18 times 12 is going to give us the area of the first shape, which should be 216 square centimeters. So that is the first one. And the area of the second shape, now what we could do is either do half of a circle plus half of a circle, but we know that that's a full circle, and the area formula for a circle is pi times your radius squared. Now your radius is the 6 centimeters. So if we take pi and multiply it by 6 squared, it's like 36 times pi. Now, I know that some calculators don't have the pi key in them, so if it's easier, you can just use 3.14 to represent pi. Just for this quiz, it's probably the easiest way. So 36 times 3.14 is going to give us 113.04. So if we add that, 113.04 plus 216, that just got really sloppy, sorry, should give us the total area of 329.04 square centimeters. Now on the quiz I ask that you round to the nearest tenth, and so technically this would be 329.0 square centimeters. And that is for question 1 on this review worksheet. Now question 2, I am going to split up this weird shape into a rectangle, we'll call that shape 1, and then I'm going to have two triangles down here, and I have to add them all together to figure out the total area. So I'll start with the easier shape, the rectangle. That's always length times width. So we have a length of 10, and we have to figure out the other side. So they told us that this long side is 13, this little part of the triangle is 8, so if I find the difference between 13 and 8, I will find the short side of this rectangle. And that's going to give me a side length of 5. So if I take 10 times 5, I'm going to find that the area of the first figure in here is going to be 50 square meters, And then I'm going to find the area of these two triangles. Now, the triangles have the same dimension, so if I find the area of one of them, I'll just add it again because I know that they're going to be the same. So, the area of the second figure, the triangle, well, the formula for a triangle area is base times height divided by 2. Now, what we have to figure out here is this little base. And since it's going to be cutting the rectangle in half, I know that my base is going to be 5, my height is 8, and I have to divide that by 2. So I do the math. 5 times 8 is 40, divided by 2 is 20, and there are 2 of those, so there are 2 20s and a 50 that I have to add all together. So 50 plus 20 plus 20 is going to give me 90 square meters. Now number 3 is a little different. So you see that there is a circle that is not shaded. So we are going to find the area of that circle, find the area of the full triangle, and then subtract the difference because we only want to find out the shaded part, what that area is. So we know that the triangle formula is base times height divided by 2. So our base is 19, our height is also 19, and then we have to divide by 2. So the area of that big triangle would be 180.5 square meters. Now, when we find the area of the circle, a circle is pi times the radius squared. The radius is, again, in this scenario, 6 meters. So pi times 6 squared is pi times 36. And again, just to make it easier, since you don't have a fancy calculator at home, you can use 3.14 for pi, multiply that by 36, and that should give you the area of this circle, which is 113.04. Now, we have to subtract to find our total area of just the shaded part, so we're going to take that 180.5 and subtract the 113.04, and we end up with 67.46. Now when we round that to the nearest tenth, that's going to give us 67.5 square meters. Okay. Now I'm going to jump to the last 3 questions because I think that those are more difficult, so it's better to address those. So we're going to focus now on questions 7, 8, and 9. Now question 7 is quite similar to the last question we just did, question 3. So it has a circle and a triangle, and we're only focusing on finding the area of the shaded region. So we're going to find the area of the first shape, which in this case is the circle. Then we're going to subtract and find the area of the second shape, and that answer should give me the shaded area. So we'll start with the area of the circle. We know that its area of the circle is pi times the radius squared. Now, it's kind of hard to read, but that looks like it says 19 inches is the radius. So we're going to take pi, multiply it by 19 squared. Remember that you can use 3.14. So really what you're doing is taking 19 squared, which is 361, and you can multiply that by 3.14, and you should get an area of 1,133.54. So that's the area of the first shape, the circle. Now we have to find the area of a triangle. So the second shape is a triangle, which is base times height divided by 2. The base here is 18. The height is 35 inches, and we're going to divide that by 2. So we're going to take 18 times 35 to get 630, divide that by 2, and we'll end up with an area of 315. Now we're going to subtract those two answers. So 1,133.54 minus 315 should give us 818.54. We're going to round to the nearest tenth. So our area is 818.5 square inches. On to questions 8 and 9, which are very similar. So I'll probably just do only one of them. So let's focus on 8, I guess. So with question 8, you're going to split it up into two different shapes. The first shape is going to be that square, and the second shape is going to be the rectangle. So they're both the same formulas, squares and rectangles. It's just length times width. So the area of the first shape is going to be 10 by 10, which is an area of 100 square centimeters, as opposed to the area of the second shape, which is a 10 by 20 rectangle, and that will give us the area of 200 square centimeters. Now what we're going to do, we're going to add these two together to get our total area of the shaded region, and that's going to give us 300 square centimeters. That is going to conclude our lesson today.